Spectres, welcome back to another week of the Mass Effect Lorecast. I am your host, In7 the Legend, and joining me as always is Jennasis, whose internet has crashed and her face was stuck on a very unfortunate screen grab, which is, again, another reason why you should go check us out on YouTube. But she's back. Jennasis, welcome back. Thank you for joining me today.
I hope to be able to stick around today. This is like, what, the fourth time in less than an hour?
We will see. We will try and keep it snappy. And we are back to our corporate episodes today.
Yeah, so the heavy deep lore that I need to focus on and not be worried about my internet with. Great.
Well, and in case anyone's wondering why, if you were looking for our live stream this week, if you're wondering why I couldn't find it, it's because we pre-recorded this week on account of the long weekend. So what that means is that if Jennasis' internet goes out, then we may just take a short break and come back and get back to it. And if you hear any audio skips this week, that might be why. But you know what? Now that we're talking about these corporate episodes, let me start with a question, Jennasis. Have you ever heard of a company named Black Horse Foods?
We're recording Mass Effect tonight, right? Because that name sounds very cyberpunk.
Also very Oblivion, doesn't it? Black Horse Courier?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So this was completely new to me when I saw it, when I started looking for corporate news in the Cerberus Daily News section. And apparently Black Horse Foods is the name of a biotech and food producer in the Milky Way. Now, again, I'd never heard of them before. If you, like me, are listening and you're like, Black Horse Foods sounds like something that these guys are just making up. I promise, we're not. It was part of Cerberus Daily News. But apparently, this company made its big break when they released a piece of dietary technology called the Scale. And Scale is spelled S-K-A-L-E. The Scale. I love this critique of Silicon Valley here. That's exactly what this is.
Very much so. Oh my gosh. The Scale. And it's a dietary thing? Yeah.
Except if I could make a little copywriting adjustment to make it more of a fitting critique of Silicon Valley, you got to take out the. Just call it Scale. Just SKAL3.
Ew. I hate that. Even worse.
Scale, and it connects with an app to your phone. Anyway, here's what the Cerberus Daily News post says about the Scale. It's a new nanotech diet aid by Black Horse Foods. It hits shelves today. The much-anticipated device is capable of excluding food matter after it's consumed. Taken internally, Scale Nanotech monitors the user's consumption and stops the digestion process if the food is beyond stated parameters. Okay.
Oh, so it is cyberpunk.
Yeah, this is very, very cyberpunk. This is like technology you are putting in your body that becomes part of your digestive tract. And basically you eat, let's say that you wanted to eat an entire box of donuts, but you didn't want to have to worry about your weight or killing yourself with too much glucose or something, like, I don't know, then you wouldn't have to worry about this, because after you eat it, you can program it to stop digesting on command.
That just sounds so weird to me. Like, how do you stop the digestion? Does it, like, hold it as a solid food in your stomach until your body's ready to process it? Like, I'm not. This sounds horrible.
It sounds horrible, yeah. It sounds very sci-fi. Like, this is really leaning on that phi part of sci-fi where we're like, can we suspend disbelief? How exactly would this work? Because that sounds painful, right? Like, it's just like stopping a process of your stomach and your intestines.
I mean, unless the little nanoids are the one that's eating the food instead, like a tapeworm.
It is nanotech, right? So we learn a little bit more about it, and I hate to say that it doesn't get too much better because the excess matter, it says, passes on a harmless waste that is naturally eliminated. Okay, that sounds like corpo speak for what am I about to poop out?
Exactly that. Harmless waste that is naturally eliminated. Okay.
Or
Are we eliminating the little nanites in us, or are we eliminating the food that we didn't process?
is it like, it doesn't have to be pooped out, I suppose. It says naturally eliminated. It could just be like excreted through the skin, vomited perhaps. What if this is literally just a device that makes you vomit after you've reached a certain amount of calories? It's enforced eating disorders.
Yay, bulimia, let's go, she says with heavy sarcasm.
Yeah, we are being sarcastic. I just want to put that out there for the record. This is an awful idea for a technology because, of course, it would get abused. Not that there is even a good use case for it, to be honest. Black Horse literature describes the device as a, quote, practical and safe solution for those watching their diet and a miracle for those with potentially life-threatening allergies. Okay, that's a good use case.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely have friends who have heavy food allergies that are life-threatening. And if there was a device that they could use that would make it so that way they could eat the foods that they've always wanted to, then I could see this. But as for like a diet watcher, I now see why it's called scale. Ew.
The scale. Yeah, it's weird that they didn't just like primarily market it with potentially life-threatening allergies being the goal, right? Because that's how the gray box was marketed, as a tool to help people with Alzheimer's, developing Alzheimer's, so that they could treasure their memories, have them locked away from the neural degradation that would happen. And because it had such a niche marketing, people took it and used it for other applications, which I'm pretty sure, I forget the company that developed Greybox right now, but I'm pretty sure that company knew that was going to happen, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And obviously,
you can't produce a product and not try and think of every viable usage for it.
Obviously, this company also knows that this is going to happen because they're just going straight for the jugular with this marketing, saying like, hey, are you trying to watch your weight? Well, guess what? Now you can eat whatever the hell you want. Still feeling like that huge Domino's pizza with the double chocolate lava cakes? You go for it. You deserve it.
You're talking to the woman who literally crammed down 2 enchiladas, a side of rice and beans before recording this episode. So, I'm here for the food.
Hey, I went to a taco truck right before this episode, and I got mulitas. So
Nice.
I got some pork mulitas. They were amazing. But yeah, I felt like, actually, I had the itis after that. I needed a nap. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I'd like to be on a high horse and say, high horse, Black Horse Foods. I'd like to say that I would not partake in this. However, like, I want to lose weight, and I feel myself putting on weight, especially as like a new parent, and being able to like eat as much as I want, as late as I want, in any fashion that I want, and not have to worry about the excess calories. Or I guess, you know what? Because it's stopping digestion, you also wouldn't have to worry about other things like raising insulin levels from what you ate. So this could also be applied for diabetic people, I suppose, to help you better regulate your insulin. However, for me, I'd like to say that I wouldn't partake in this, but if it was like, I feel like if enough people were doing this around, I would seriously consider it.
Yeah, this almost feels like how like Ozempic is extremely popular right now. This is Ozempic. It's a weight loss thing, and everybody's doing it right now. Why aren't you gonna try it?
Right.
Well,
And by the way, I would laugh and sing along their little jingle, but I'm pretty sure that that's copyrighted, and even saying it or singing it will get you fined. So we're not going to do that, but you know the one. So yeah, that I've never been tempted to do that though, and I'm not sure exactly what the line is there. If there was a device like this one from Mass Effect, this scale, why would I be more inclined to allow nanotechs into my body to do this? I guess it would be like because I would have manual control, assuming that I would.
Assuming direct control.
So assuming that I would have manual control. That's a big if though, right? Because it doesn't really tell us so far how this is working. Just that let's go back. It says it's capable of excluding food matter after it's consumed. Taken internally, Scale Nanotech monitors the user's consumption and stops the digestion process if the food is beyond stated parameters. So you define the parameters. If you ingest food that is beyond those, it stops all digestion of that food.
Okay. It sounds like a good idea in theory.
In theory. You know what part concerns me, though? It is very low cost. It's 300 credits. So it's marketed to a wide audience. And it only has a 1-year warranty.
Whoa, wait a minute. A 1-year warranty for something that goes inside of your body?
Yeah, 1-year warranty. This is going to go about as well as the Bay of Pigs.
And it doesn't take long for reports to start surfacing that people are dying from the scale. Go figure. Are you kidding me?
That sounds like a high fantasy disease. Oh, we've lost another 50 to the scale.
Some Argonian disease.
Yeah, it's an Argonian disease. Yeah, eats many cheeses, has perished from the scale. So, all right. So we got another entry from Cerberus Daily News. What happens here after this sketchy technological device starts hitting the market?
All right, so the next one reads, the new Black Horse Foods diet device called the Scale is now linked to the deaths of at least 4 young humans and 1 volus.
A volus. Interesting. I don't even know how they eat. But 4 young humans could mean anyone between the ages of 4, I guess, 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old even.
No, please do not.
Well, no, what I'm thinking about is an allergy. Like, right? What if a kid had a deadly allergy, and the parents were just trying to do as much as they possibly could to protect that kid, right? And they felt like taking a risk on this, and then boom, but it doesn't have to be a kid. But young humans, 4 young humans are dead, and 1 volus is dead because of this device. We don't quite know how yet, but man, if you are Black Horse Foods, you are panicking.
Absolutely. I mean, as soon as these reports, a death here or there that's not linked to anything, you can probably squish that and, nobody's going to trace it back. But the fact that they have all been found to have the scale, then that means that now more and more people are going to start actively paying attention to this. If somebody comes in through the hospital complaining of this, that, and the other, and this is going to be one of the first things that they check now. Do you have the scale?
Yeah, good point. And if we are to assume that the Cerberus Daily News releases were timed in accordance with how much time passed in universe, so when we get those releases, same amount of time passes in universe. Well, this release came out just a few days afterward. So this is a few days after they hit the market and people are already dying.
Oh.
So this is really fast. And it's already being linked to the device. So it must be somewhat of an absolutely evident mess up from the company.
Wow, putting it within a few days timeline definitely changes things because I was like, maybe it's been 6 months to a year since it came out and people are starting to die from it. But wow, okay.
Yeah, a few days, but then again, that's assuming that, you know, the same gap of time existed in universe as existed for when we get these Cerberus Daily News releases. What's the next part of this one say?
It says ingesting the scale allows users to remove food from their systems and lose weight. The device shipped with multiple safeguards, but savvy hackers have already posted code spikes on the extranet that allow full control of the device's anti-digestion settings. The result has been growing collection of users who reduce their food intake to dangerously low levels in efforts to stay thin.
There it is, eating disorders. Basically, technology-aided eating disorders is what's happening. It's like, oh my God, it's horrible. It's like giving the worst possible thing to someone who is struggling with a mental health disorder. You know what I mean? Like fuel to a fire.
Absolutely. It's fuel to the fire of starvation. I mean, self-inflicted starvation. I mean, it could be used as a weapon. If you know that your enemy has this, I'm going to hack into your device and I'm going to kill you this way. Not traceable back to me.
I thought the same thing because this one says savvy hackers have posted code spikes on the extranet that allow full control, not just control of your own device, like you mentioned. I theoretically could control anyone's device, I guess. And that's terrifying, right? Like, because the person, you have to think about it like logistically. The person who it's affecting wouldn't necessarily realize it at first because they're still going through the act of eating. Like, they are literally still putting food in their body. It's just that the food isn't getting metabolized.
Eating your way into starvation. I can cram myself with as many calories, but still not being able to process. It is a tapeworm.
Yeah, it's like having a robo tapeworm in you. And I guess if someone were to hack into it, they could like manipulate it so no matter how much you eat, it's never going to let you have calories. That's terrifying. But it's also concerning for people like it says, that people who are going to dangerous levels to stay thin. You know, there's a curveball. I just considered it and I want to talk about it before I forget it. But can you imagine what a boon this technology would be for competitive eaters?
Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Well, this still kind of confuses me on the technology basis of it because even if I wanted to eat my way through, 700 hot dogs, my stomach can't physically handle that. There's not enough space there for that. I'm wondering what these nanites do in order to make the digestion stop. That's the part that my brain isn't allowing me to go through the process.
Yeah, and also at least with human physiology, like the way that we are able to get out what we put in is because we digested it. Like if we did not digest these foods that we eat, can you imagine how painful those trips to the toilet would be? Oh my God. I do not want to think about that massive Chipotle burrito that I ate. That's called white knuckling the rim. Get dad some Tylenol and some Vaseline.
And at this mark, we have gone completely off the rails, but I think that we have a little bit more to talk about.
We do. Okay. So basically, people are dying because they're taking this and using it to starve themselves. They don't realize probably that they're starving themselves quite to that extent, maybe, but they do want to stay thin. And people are dying, and there's a PR nightmare developing. And we know from the Cerberus Daily News that representatives from Black Horse Foods did not immediately respond to press inquiries. So the saddest part about that response, or lack thereof, is that it's realistic.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to touch something like that until they have put in enough time and thought process of like, how can we spin this? How can we do anything to make our company not look as horrible as it actually is right now?
Yeah. They are circling the wagons at Black Horse Foods. No pun intended. So basically, during litigation, or if they're expecting litigation here, lawyers will advise their clients to just shut the hell up. And if it's a corporation with blood on its hands, then you best believe that they will, because they are beholden to their investors. So what's shocking here is, for me, is that not even the PR team had a reply. Like,
they needed time. If this is all happening within a course of days, they need that time.
Right. But like, they didn't even have a backup plan. Like, this means that they were truly blindsided by the side effects of this device killing people. Like clearly no one in the company voiced concerns, or at least loudly, that this device would end up killing people.
Yeah.
So because they didn't even have a blanket PR statement ready to go. They're just hiding.
Yeah. Oh, so I mean, I guess given the time that they would try and come up with something, but I really don't know how they could possibly spin this. They've just got to own up to it, right?
Yeah. Well, they have to, because they're publicly traded, ideally, I guess. Because the news is breaking, people are finding out. Excuse me. Oh my gosh, you can hear that I'm a new parent. You can, if you remember the Garvug War, all those companies that were involved, and they were publicly traded, and so they had to act fast when it looked like they might have been losing the war. They weren't losing the war, and yada, yada, yada. Well, typically you would expect a publicly traded company to try and act fast with a deadly recall. And they certainly have more of a fire under their hooves. So listen to this one. Black Horse Foods, makers of the controversial diet aid The Scale, have issued a formal recall of their products as shares dropped by more than 66% in the past week.
That's a lot.
They should stop horsing around. That is... Hey, now. All right.
Oh,
I'll be
no. The dad puns have appeared.
Where are my pun glasses? Well, they're not in reach. But, yeah, 66%. So their stocks have lost 2/3 of their value in the past week. The last company I heard to lose anywhere close to that value, and I think it was like half of its market cap, was Tesla. Tesla lost like half its market cap, right? Like a month or two ago. And they lost half of it within a month. So maybe Elon's leading Black Horse Foods over there to their financial doom. 66% drop in the past week. That is what you call a bear market.
So I'm wondering if this is like the 66% is after they issued the formal recall. Did anything else happen that made them step up and do this right away?
Yes, because it wasn't just 4 young adults and 1 volus. It ended up expanding, and apparently it reached more than 34 deaths, primarily among youth. Now, that's really, really sad when you think about the demographics most harmed by eating disorders. They're almost always teenagers and young adults. But 34 deaths, and this is within a week, right? 34 people dead. I mean, like, wow, the technology must be extremely aggressive. There was clearly no guardrails on it. Like, you would think if you were developing this technology, you would have to put in your own biometrics, like your height, your weight, and then your gender, how active you are every day, so that it could calculate what is the minimum number of calories needed to sustain this individual. And you cannot go under that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I would think the technology should have started at. You cannot go on under your minimum required daily calories. Now, I know that for some people who do have EDs, that minimum has been dropped down to like 200, but you still need some caloric intake. And if these people have either been hacked or intentionally changed the system to where their minimum is now 0, then this is sad. I don't like this one.
It is really, really sad. It's twisted too, because you can like imagine this happening in real life, like right now, actually. Like, it's not that far in the future that something like this could happen. Here's an interesting part. Take a little twist on this. Medical authorities on Citadel Space planets are calling on retail outlets to remove the product from store shelves, although use of the scale is still approved for prescription in cases of severe allergies or food restrictions. So I find this interesting because we're getting a little glimpse of public health and food and drug regulations in Citadel Space. And so it looks like there are A, medical authorities, and B, the extent of their authority is Citadel Space. So as we kind of inferred before, the Citadel Council does have like bureaucratic agencies underneath of it. And some of those apparently include public health agencies where medical authorities are basically telling these stores to recall the products from their shelves. What I'm interested, though, about is the language here, that they're calling on retail outlets to remove the product. That sounds like they don't have the power to just straight up say, you can't sell this.
Right. To me, it's like, why are we relying on the stores? Because the stores want to sell the things in order to make the money. And now you're asking me to take this product off the market. Am I being reimbursed for the goods that I purchased from you? Because I'm out money now that I've bought this and I'm supposed to resell it for retail.
Right. Yeah. You can just imagine the tension building between like this milquetoast kind of leadership and then the parents who have lost kids to this, and then the business leaders being like, well, but think of us, think of all of the units that we bought. We bought, 1,000 units of this scale for we bought it for, like 200 credits each. Who's going to reimburse us that? Oh, well, do we dump into taxpayer money to reimburse them for the recall? Does Black Horse Foods? Hey, Black Horse Foods, what do you got to say? Crickets. Like, you know what I mean? So the next part of this is neither public relations staff nor legal counsel for Black Horse Foods would comment on the recall or pending legal action by the families of the deceased.
Unfortunately, that still seems extremely realistic. I mean, the public relations should have a statement ready.
It's kind of their job.
Have something prepared by now, right? Get your resumes done. But yeah, this is going to take a lot of individual lawsuits.
They're going to get sued into the ground. At least I hope they do. Because that's the last entry. We don't know what happens to Black Horse Foods after that, as far as I know. So that means there's also no sign of accountability for them.
That sucks.
It does say pending legal action, so who knows where those civil suits can go. But
hopefully. Maybe there's some hidden lore in Andromeda that we didn't realize, or maybe we will get some notification off of a random elevator conversation in the next game.
Maybe so. Okay, so recall aside, would you try it?
Oh, you know, I don't think so. I really don't. And just simply because of the fact that, because of me right now, where I'm at, I'm happy with my body. I've worked at it to get it where it's at right now, and I didn't use nanotechnology to do it. I would also be afraid that I would accidentally abuse it because I do love food. And if I had a way to just start eating and eating more, that I would overconsume. And then I'd be addicted to that level of food without the caloric backside of it. And I'm a person who can get addicted to things quickly and easily. So, no, I would not do this.
Well, that self-awareness is the most important part, I think. I do see the value in it. I would be tempted. I don't know if I would try it, but if I did try it, it'd be kind of fun to like test it to see if you could use it for alcohol. Because then you could like maybe set a parameter that if you knew you were going to stick to the same kind of drink before you went out with friends, right? Then you could calculate the amount of calories that it would take for you to get comfortably drunk. I've become comfortably drunk. And then you could basically make it so you never got too drunk.
Okay.
Almost like a limiter in audio editing, right? Like you want to make sure that everything is steady at the same perfect volume.
But then again, I think that would go hand in hand with my easily addicted to things, and now I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, yeah, but what if it malfunctioned while you were drinking heavily? That would suck.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's the expulsion. That's coming quick.
Yeah, right? Who knows? Well, probably safe to err on the side of caution there, but we got to go over to the mid-break, and when we come back, we have some really interesting insights about Cerberus and corporations it controls. All right, don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
We have beef, we have bacon, we have beer. The foods of my people.
Young men have funny ideas of what Asari are like. I blame the extranet and computer games.
Rex? Shepherd. Grunt? Shepherd. Rex? Grunt?
All right, welcome to the middle of the show where we read out your 5-star reviews if you've left them. And this week we do have a couple of new ones. One from Carapace Borg in Denmark. I didn't even know we had a listener in Denmark, but thank you, Carapace Borg. Carapace Borg says, well calibrated. A show that hits you like a biotic charge and leaves you smiling sheepishly as if Ashley just called you Skipper and winked at you. The hosts have a way with words that are almost as smooth as Morden singing Gilbert and Sullivan. 10 out of 10 would romance again. I should go. Thank you, Carapace Borg. I don't know if you can tell just from listening, but I'm smiling.
Yep. I'm not going to call you Skipper, though.
Please don't. That one is reserved for Ashley and Ashley only. And we also have another one from TJ Bridges. Jen, do you want to read this one out?
Yeah, and TJ Bridges, if you're here in the Portland area, your name sounds so familiar to me, and I'm not quite sure why. I think I knew you in a past life. All right. New host, same mission. I want to drop a second review with the introduction of Jennasis to the show. I really love the new dynamic with Jen as the co-host, and Seven and Jen are a great team. I like the goofiness and the new segments added to the show. And Seven is still a walking great codex. And Seven is still a walking codex and wealth of knowledge. Keep up the great job.
Well, you are very kind, TJ. I think that you're giving me too much credit. I've probably forgotten more than I actually know about Mass Effect just because I research it every week. And I am constantly enlightened and often corrected by other fellow Mass Effect fans. But thank you. And let's see here. As a reminder, you can leave comments on Spotify episodes now. And we are pulling reviews from the most recent episode whenever we put that up on Spotify. So you can leave your comment there. And, we have a sound effects pop quiz, Genesis. I got one for you. You gotta listen to this and place this sound line. Okay, are you ready? Well, I don't have a good sounder to enter this segment yet. I need a sounder like I have Edie announcing our Planet Card segment. I need a sounder for this one. But all right, let me pull up that sound line again. Here it is. All right, tell me where you think this is from.
Ha! You want some? Ha! You want some?
All right, one more time.
Ha! You want some?
All right, where do you think that one's from?
Okay, so I had to listen to it a few times, but I think I finally placed it. Because I had to think, when would this sounds like a boxing? This sounds like fighting. Like, put your dukes up. You want some? Come get some. And the only person I could think of that did that was Vega, and that's obviously not Vega. So it has to be Kalisa in Mass Effect 3 when she fights back against a previously renegade Shepard.
Absolutely. Cue the applause. That was when Shepard misses the haymaker on the unsuspecting journalist who is not a trained super soldier. Kind of a douche move from Shepard. But Shepard misses the punch, and Kalisa's there bobbing and weaving, lays Shepard. I forget, does Shepard get laid out or just get thwacked?
I think laid out, which makes it even funnier to me. A renegade interrupt I have never pulled. I have never gone a renegade route with her on any of my playthroughs.
Well, good. Thank you. Because I know she can be a douche, but it's my opinion that it is very wrong that Shepard, whose fists should be considered deadly weapons, is just allowed to deck civilians who bother them, right? That's assault and it's illegal, first of all. But other than that, it's unbecoming of an officer and it's wrong. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. Yes.
Same reason that I've never hit Conrad either. I'm sorry, I'm super soldier. I should not be hitting civilians for any reason.
He's like a sad little puppy though. Conrad.
Yeah, so don't kick the dog.
Right. He's annoying you maybe, but he's trying. Anyway. That was my sound effect. I'm glad that you got it. We also have a planet card.
Scans have found something.
All right. And this planet card is Trident. I promise you all, you'll find out later in the episode how this becomes relevant. Here's Trident, a human-dominated world with over 95% of its surface covered by salt water. Trident is home to a dazzling array of life. The oceans are filled with creatures ranging from tiny bivalves to mammoth vertebrates, unequaled even by Earth's whales and ichthyosaurs. I hope that's how you say that. Small archipelagos create what little land there is, and its valuable real estate is fought over constantly. Sounds like Waterworld.
Yeah.
What's that actor's name is in that? Anyway. Underwater extraction operations have recovered a number of valuable minerals from the ocean floor, including iridium, uranium, and dust form element 0. Okay, the Alliance Systems military is now listening. A largely lawless world, Trident is home to a rogues gallery of unethical corporations, exploiting the resources of the planet and actual rogues, criminals, slavers, and mercenaries working the shadows. Now, I posit a question to all of you, Lorecast listeners. What is the meaningful difference between a rogues gallery of unethical corporations and what is described as actual rogues, aka criminals, slavers, and mercenaries? I'll wait.
I was going to say hierarchy, but nope. Those all have hierarchies in them as well. 401ks?
Yeah, okay. That's a fair point. 401k matching. Okay, there is a travel advisory here as well. Due to extreme weather conditions, all traffic to the surface is grounded. Trident Spaceport Control predicts this condition will persist until the end of hurricane season. Man, can you imagine hurricane season on a planet 95% water?
That's like constant. When does hurricane season end?
I don't know. It sounds like Camino from Star Wars. But all right, we don't have any new patrons this week. We do have to shout out our tier 5 patrons: Ed Boy, Kira C, Lieutenant Tocino, Red Trobot, Superfly 440, Unfortunate Benefactor, and William. And a special thank you to our tier 6 patron, Commander Shrinky Shep, who has generously continued to support. Thank you again, Shrinky Shep. And please don't obliterate us. All right, and with that, let's get back to the rest of the show.
After time adrift among open stars, along tides of light and through shoals of dust, I will return to where I began.
Solarian reproduction different, very little sex drive. If intended to try human, would try you.
Okay.
Ow, my pancreas.
Oh, I cut myself off. Okay, Jin, I think we may have found part of the answer to how Cerberus gets so much money.
Really? This has been a question that I know I have asked. How did the Elusive Man get these funds and be able to pay out over 4 billion credits for the Lazarus Project alongside the 120 billion spent on the recreation of the Normandy? Like, that's a lot of money. That's Bezos level money.
It is. It is Bezos level money just to be able to throw around like that for your pet project. So you remember how Cerberus has shell companies? Well, it involves that and breaking the law. That it doesn't necessarily answer what is generating so much revenue for it to launch these huge military and R&D campaigns, the shell companies alone. But now we have found a critical piece of lore that helps us understand part of the Cerberus money-making scheme, and it has to do with a corporation. The Shadow Broker's dossiers on Cerberus shed a lot of light here. And there is a timeline of observed activities of Cerberus, which proves that the Shadow Broker has been watching Cerberus for quite some time. And in that timeline, we see the name of one company, New Dawn Pharmaceuticals. Creepy. Black Horse, we were just talking about Black Horse earlier. Now we've got New Dawn Pharmaceuticals, maybe Mythic Dawn. I don't know. It's a very Oblivion-related episode.
Yeah. Because I was also thinking that Black Horse reminded me of Dark Horse, and so Dark Horse comics and all that, so it's all intertwined. You know, it's got to be a play on something.
It's all connected, man. The numbers, what do they mean? What's up with Dawn and villain cult names anyway?
We are all over the place on game references today.
We really are. But to understand how New Dawn Pharmaceuticals is related to Cerberus, well, we've got to go over how Cerberus got the money to buy the company in the first place. So in 2168, just 11 years after Cerberus was founded, Cerberus agents assassinated 22 Solarian crime syndicate members on the planet Trident. So before it was a human-dominated planet, apparently, there were a bunch of organized Solarian crime rings.
That sounds funny.
It does,
Solarian
doesn't it?
crime rings. Yeah.
Doesn't it? Yeah. You better not cross us, see? Or else you're gonna get the you're gonna get the cement blocks on your feet, see? Maybe we'll dump you off.
I can hold this line.
There you go. Dump you off in the middle of hurricane season and forget about you. So there were a bunch of like Solarian crime rings on Trident, and Cerberus just goes and wipes what I would guess is all of them out, or a lot of them. And they assassinate 22 crime members. Now that leads to Cerberus taking over the narcotics trade.
Oh, so it's drug money. Cerberus got their starting funds from drug money.
Yeah, that was 2168. So that's kind of how they get their seed funding, I think. Maybe not original seed funding, because somehow they're already able to hire enough agents to carry out these crimes, or these assassinations. But the lore, like in the dossier, it just says that like Cerberus takes over the narcotics trade after that, which is crazy. Like now Cerberus is the largest organized crime syndicate in the known galaxy. Is that what we're to make of this?
And then they started populating it with more and more humans to the point that we dominate the planet.
Yep.
Very Cerberus.
So yeah, then we basically dominate Trident. And I guess in doing so, it would make it a diplomatic faux pas for any of the other council races to try and come down hard on enforcing laws on Trident.
Because now it's a human colony.
Correct. And we know that Udina's in Cerberus's pocket.
Yeah.
Although
how long?
Udina's not in the scene yet. Sorry, that would be Ambassador Goyle, I think her name is. Who is still very human-centric and was clearly willing to skirt Cerberus or Citadel conventions for AI development. So I'm not sure how she would defend Trident, or even if she would. You know what's interesting here? That we don't get a specific date as to when human population on Trident skyrocketed, I think. But we know it must be past 2168 because we just did that episode about human expansion. So it must have been over a number of years. But anyway, what's interesting here too is the broker notes reprisals bloody but tolerable after that assassination spree. So reprisals bloody but tolerable. Milky Way Foundation created to funnel money. New Dawn Pharmaceuticals purchased to begin Project Trapdoor. So Cerberus has now set up its first shell company, I guess. Looks like its first one to funnel the money, to launder the money. And then also it has bought New Dawn Pharmaceuticals. So that was a company beforehand. Now Cerberus bought it to begin whatever this Project Trapdoor is.
Trapdoor is not something I think I've heard of before. What do we know about it?
Absolutely not. I'd never heard of this before either. So the very next year, in 2169, Trapdoor experiments on Asari captives. And so they've kidnapped Asari, and now they're forcing them to take this drug called omega encaphalin, or encaphalin. Basically, it's going to disrupt their biotic powers. And Cerberus wants to measure exactly how much. So the broker here has measurements that it's estimating from Cerberus's own experiments. The broker estimates that 2.5 milligrams of active ingredient for each 25 kilograms of body weight. Under 7.5 milligrams of dose optimal to avoid detection by taste or smell. So these are all findings from Cerberus's research on kidnapped Asari. And then it says 3 to 5 Citadel standard days onset period. So it has a delayed onset too. So no taste, no smell, delayed onset. It would be virtually impossible for the person who's been poisoned with this to know where it came from. And powers return 2 to 5 Citadel standard days after the last dose was taken.
Wow. Okay. So it knocks you out for a while.
It does, like a week. And permanent damage is possible.
Permanent damage to an Asari's biotics?
That's right.
That's like part of their DNA. It's part of who they are. And something that Cerberus has control over can do this?
Yeah, that they can just shut off people's biotics, apparently. That's what they're working to discover how to do.
Is this like a precursor to red sand? Because red sand enhances biotics. Maybe they found this before?
No, the first recorded use of red sand was actually in 2160, so this was 9 years prior. However, maybe red sand was kind of the inspiration for this idea. Maybe the Elusive Man thought, okay, well, if this drug can amplify biotic powers, what if we could find a drug to mute biotic powers.
Oh, okay. I could see how those two would be correlated then. Definitely. Oh, man.
So that that right there is how Cerberus buys New Dawn Pharmaceuticals, arguably one of many shell companies. But it doesn't stop there, and there's a common thread that ties a lot of this together. Cerberus, just before this assassination spree on Trident, and then buying New Dawn Pharmaceuticals and these experiments, just before then, in 2162, this is one of the first coordinated campaigns that Cerberus does. They start a media blitz. Basically, they start infiltrating human media. And we have a few names here. The Galactic Broadcasting Corporation is one. Constant Times is another. And Scott Examiner. Now, I wish we knew more about each of these publications, but we don't. They don't even... there's no, like, definitive source outside of what I've found from the dossiers, the broker's dossier. However, it says that 2 years later, the Scott Examiner actively destroys the credibility of Vera Safin, a frontrunner for Prime Minister of the Systems Alliance. And then it says, leak to Galactic Broadcasting Corporation, stopped by agents in place. Now, we have to remember that this is from the broker's point of view. So the broker has agents in place and stopped a leak to the Galactic Broadcasting Corporation. However, the Scott Examiner successfully destroyed the credibility of this frontrunner for the Prime Minister of the Systems Alliance. Probably because she wasn't pro-human extremist enough.
Okay. Wow. So we really do see that the elusive man has been stirring the pot and really screwing things over, but holding this pro-human stance since pretty much day one.
Right. I mean, the media blitz, him buying up and infiltrating human media outlets, starts 5 years, just 5 years after he writes the manifesto for Cerberus. So this is like one of the first organized campaigns that he does. And then 2 years later, tests it out by basically spreading Cambridge Analytica level rumors about Vera Safin and trying to influence elections. And that's essentially what he does. And he's successful at it. He doesn't stop there, of course. 13 years later, I found this very interesting. This is where it all kind of comes together. Cerberus successfully acquires another corporation, or another product from a corporation called Light Shadow Pictures. They have a product named Reality Plus Video Editing. And this video editing supposedly has the capacity to, quote, forge photorealistic video, which is now unsurpassed. That sounds a lot like they got their hands on AI-generated video tools.
Yeah. Enhanced video editing, so now that it's more photorealistic, Elusive Man's not putting out anything with 7 fingers on one hand. He's making it look exactly like it should. Which,
by the way, I don't know if you've been keeping up with AI-generated video, but it has progressed so quickly to the point where I'm seeing a lot of AI-generated video that posters are like being honest and transparent for a purpose, and they're saying, check this out, this is AI-generated video. You would never guess it. You seriously would never guess. So we're already there. Like, this isn't sci-fi, this Reality Plus video editing machine. It's not sci-fi anymore. This is just real. And I believe that we are already seeing the effects of this on people's faith in information sources. How many times over the past several years have you heard people say to each other, just tired, exasperated, and they'll say, I just don't know what to believe anymore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, And there is research that shows that when people are no longer able to recognize accurate, truthful information, that they are more susceptible to propaganda, which is, of course, the elusive man's angle. That's exactly where he wants to go. So acquiring these methods of murkying the waters is done with a purpose for him. Now, you remember that those experiments that they were conducting on the Asari? Well, they use those plus their media control to bring down another powerful politician. This one not human, a matriarch.
Oh, bring down a matriarch. They are high level. Within the Asari culture, matriarchs are exalted. They have people following them around. They have their own subjects, for lack of a better term for it right now.
Acolytes, yeah.
Acolytes, yeah. Wow. Okay, so who is this matriarch?
This is Matriarch Tilia Iraza. Hope I'm saying that right. I don't think we actually get a pronouncer. But in 2181, apparently this matriarch had been claiming that Asari were biotically superior and therefore superior to other races. Here's verbatim what the dossier says. Claims of biotic superiority to non-biotics deflated once her powers fail. Voice in citizen legislature considerably diminished. And this is because Matriarch Tilia Iraza was targeted with Omega Enkophalin. So they poisoned the matriarch, probably unbeknownst to the matriarch, blocked her biotics, and it just so happens that she had been espousing biotic superiority and lost her political clout after her own powers failed.
Well, it does sound very Asari to be claiming biotic superiority. And then it also sounds very Cerberus to go in and knock her down a peg by diminishing her biotic ability.
And of course,
I don't like this, but it falls very well within universe.
And of course, biotic's much more common amongst Asari, so that's probably why the elusive man even cared. Not so common amongst humans, although he's trying to make them more common. So that's kind of like an all-encompassing, like, this 2181, right? Remember, we started this, like, key events thing with Cerberus in 2162. So that's like a 19-year culmination of what their capacity is like to influence politics, how they got there with gaining the money-making scheme, and at the same time trying to influence and directly control media outlets, as well as developing this biotics blocker drug. All in the name of influencing world politics, or not even world, galactic politics.
The events of Mass Effect 1 was 2183, right?
That's correct. Yeah, so this happens 2 years before the start of Mass Effect 1. So crazy. But you know what? We also found another weird coincidence with key events of Cerberus. You want to go ahead and enlighten us here, Jen?
All right. 2171, Pope Clement the 15th was assassinated via rosary beads coated with sodium non-acetate and dimethyl sulfoxide. Death attributed to age and heart failure. Replacement, Pope Leo the 14th has astrological beliefs in line with militarizing humanity. Forgiving attitude to Solarians, re-genophage, proves useful for strategic alliances against Turians.
This Pope Clement, did they just have a meeting with renowned Terra Firma executive J.B. Lance?
You're pushing the line there, buddy.
I've got okay. Look. Obviously, those memes have been going around. But what I find really funny, and I guess funny in like a coincidental way, is Pope Clement the 16th in Mass Effect lore was replaced by Pope Leo the 14th. Mm-hmm. That is our Pope now. that is who the current Pope is. However, according to Mass Effect lore, Pope Leo the 14th has eschatological beliefs in line with militarizing humanity. I don't think that's what our Pope Leo the 14th believes in.
I don't think so. And I don't know if he has any thoughts about the Solarians or Turians. And I don't think we'll ever get the opportunity to ask.
Man, that would be sick if we had a Pope that played Mass Effect.
Dude.
I don't know though. I don't think Mass Effect is his jam. But anyway, I was joking about that in light of the Pope's untimely death. I guess not untimely because he was rather old, lived a full life. But making light of the fact that the new Pope was Pope Leo the 14th, and just so happens that the new Pope in Mass Effect lore, after the previous one is killed, is named Pope Leo the 14th. So, as some other very famous popular podcasters would put it, makes you wonder. I'm just asking questions. No, that's absolving yourself of any responsibility for the shit you put out. Obviously, we're just joking. So, Jennasis, that is all we got for this week. Next week, we get to talk to our patrons. I don't know if we know what they want to talk about yet, but we are still putting out that open call to anyone who may have worked on Mass Effect as a developer, worked with the games. If you know anything about the Dark Energy plotline, or if you know anyone who knows something or would like to talk about it on a little fan podcast 17 years later, after the first game was made, or 18 years later after the first game came out, then let us know, because we are going to do a Dark Energy plotline episode next month.
Ooh, yay, Dark Energy for my birthday. Let's go.
Oh, that is perfect timing. By the way, if any of you want to send us birthday cards, Jennasis will put her home address in the show notes. I'm kidding. She's not going to do that. However, if you would like to send us some birthday messages for Jennasis, you can go ahead and join the Robots Radio Discord and the Mass Effect Lorecast channel, where we've been pretty active lately, talking about endings, talking about what they mean. I just had a listener ask me today if I think it would be possible, if you could choose to play as a Krogan in the next Mass Effect, is it possible to play as a Paragon Krogan? And absolutely, I think so.
Very much so. The Krogan aren't all assholes. Like, they can definitely be nice. I think Grandpa Rex is really nice. And
in Nakmor-Kesh in Andromeda, it's quite nice. I would say she's quite Paragon. But that's all we got for this week. Jen, what do you got going on, and how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so like you said, you can always hit me up in the Discord. I'm on 3 separate channels in the Robots Radio Discord: the Mass Effect Lorecast, the Cyberpunk Lorecast, and the Two Girls, One Ship podcast. Also, if you just tag me on any channel, I'm pretty sure that I'll read it eventually.
Yeah, I'm terrible at keeping up with those notifications. But yeah, if anyone wants to get a hold of me or contact me, I've been so deep into Tainted Grail lately. If you see me online on Xbox or Steam, I am probably playing that. But yeah, you can get a hold of me on Steam, Xbox, pretty much any social media platform. My name will be N7 the Legend. And if you send me an invite to add me because you listen to the show, might be cool if you could send a message along with that, so I know that I'm not just getting some random spammer account ad. There's a lot of those that go out. So anyway, it's been great bringing lore to you guys for another week, but that is all we got for this week. So until next time, Spectres, we should go.